सर विल गेट स्ट्रेट इनटू इट। एक मैं कुछ 2-3 हफ्ते पहले आपका एक इंटरव्यू देख रहा था यूट्यूब पे, जहां पे आपने बताया एक किस्से के बारे में दिल्ली से, आपके बचपन से, कि आपने सुना था कि टीवी पे कोई फिल्म आ रही थी अचानक, जिसमें कोई गाने नहीं, देयर नो सॉन्ग्स, एंड व्हेन यू हर्ड दिस यू सेड यार ये कौन सी हिंदी फिल्म बनी होगी जिसमें कोई गाने नहीं है, एंड यू वर सो डेस्परेट टू वॉच दैट फिल्म के आसपास के जो लोगों के घर थे, यू started asking them please can I watch, and when nobody gave you a chance, आप इतने गुस्से में आ गए कि आपने कहा कि कोई गेट था वहां पे, आपने गेट को मारा। पर बात ये नहीं है, बात ये है कि आपने उस दिन एक अपने दिमाग में ठान लिया कि मैं इन लोग से, इन योर ओन वर्ड्स में, बदला लूंगा कि एक दिन यही लोग मुझे टीवी पे देखेंगे। सर वो जिद जो थी आपकी, उस आखिर इट्स नाउ shaped you into a multi-faceted, critically acclaimed actor.
Thank you. Yeah. There was a we used to watch because most of the films that came only on a Sunday. There were only 2 channels. Saturday was a regional movies, and so as kids we used to be very excited and read the newspaper कि अभी कौन सी film आने वाली है. And I read about Achanak and it said it has no songs, and so I thought ये film तो जरूर देखनी है. But unfortunately, because I didn't have electricity in my house, and we were surrounded by some rich people, so some of my neighborhood women used to go and work in those houses, like maid servants, washing dishes, doing washing clothes, etc. So I used to hang out with their kids and tag along with them to go. But that day somehow I don't know what happened. I was left behind and I couldn't enter, and nobody let me in. I was so angry. I broke someone's gate. Delhi houses have these iron gates outside, and I broke someone's gate, and I got very scared because my dad used to beat me up because of that he didn't want me to go to see these TV movies because he thought I will go blind actually. So I was very upset, and I in that anger I made that vow that ये लोग जो मुझे नहीं आने दे रहे अंदर, ये एक दिन मेरे को अपने टीवी पे देखेंगे. That was a kid's anger. When a kid gets frustrated, that's what happens.
Through those years of struggles, क्या आप में वो विश्वास था कि जैसे आजकल के जमाने में अपना टाइम आएगा?
Yeah, I don't think I doubted that, but यही था कि कैसे आएगा और कैसे, मतलब, but I knew I'm lucky that early on I realized the value of training in my life, and that's when I decided at a very early stage to go to NSD. Then when I quit acting for so many years, again I decided that training is the key word to do what I wanted to do. So I retrained myself. I studied acting again after a long gap. So I knew that an effort is needed. Without an effort, बिना मेहनत के कुछ होता नहीं है. So I knew that training is very important. So that I always wanted to follow the process and not just expect the success or not just expect that I will get some work. I wanted to follow the process of how does one get work, what is needed. That was more important to me actually.
Was it more of that you wanted to become a student again? Did you feel like from a student you then became a teacher who's able to then absorb their craft? Perhaps it was a cathartic experience. Well, what were those 14, 15? इस दौरान आप इंडिया से बाहर भी गए थे?
Yeah, मतलब दोबारा सीखने का मतलब यही था कि you become a student again, and I wanted to learn it. And you can only become a student when you have a genuine desire. Otherwise, you can go to a class and maybe you will not go after 1 or 2 classes. But when I studied it again, right after my first class, because I sat there as a student, not as somebody who is already learned and knows everything. That is important. That's what it means to be a student, and you have to be a student when you go in a class. You are a student, no matter how old you are, no matter how young the teacher is or how other students are. You have to consider yourself a student actually.
In these years, in these 14, 15 years, were you just focusing on acting, or were you looking at the whole craft of filmmaking, script writing, editing?
Well, when I was in acting, I got into editing and also did a bit of a study on filmmaking and all that. Editing, I did quite intensely for a number of years. And but when I went back to acting, when I decided I'm going to go back to acting, that was strictly only an acting class. But before that, I was I did some writing classes. I don't know if you know, you probably know Robert McKee is one of the most amazing screenplay writing teachers in the world. And I attended his class. I did some smaller workshops, kept learning through the internet and all that, like everybody does. But in acting, when I decided I want to study acting, when I was a student, completely only acting class. That was a class for acting only, actually.
And then you came back to India, and then I believe it is your first role back was that very key character of the father in Amir Khan Saab's Taare Zameen Par. Would you see it as a first break or a second innings in getting that chance?
I don't know, maybe the first break, because my first inning, I didn't start at all. Actually, I did a couple of very small things. I acted in Shyam Benegal's TV series Yatra and Discovery of India. Discovery of India, I played Ramakrishna Paramhans. Yatra, I had one episode in which I played a major character, one of the lead characters in that episode. Other than that, I hadn't done anything. So can't be a second inning. I would say I was launched. That was the start for me, actually. Yeah, before that, I had no clue.
How deep did you go into that father's role? Did you put yourself in his shoes? कि मैं अगर इस बच्चे का बाप होता, how would I react? Because it's a very complex role.
Yeah, I mean, quite a lot of the times when you have characters like this, there is something in your own life. I had kind of the same relationship with my dad when, it was like my dad didn't understand why I'm so attracted to movies. And he kind of didn't understand, growing up in poverty, if your son wants to become a movie star or wants to act in films, for a father, it'll be very difficult to understand. He'll say, "Pagal ho gaya," And that's exactly what my father probably thought, that I was mad, thinking, I don't think I told him I want to be an actor, but he somehow understood that my attraction to film is very strong and I might run away from home, because those days, a lot of kids used to run away from home and come to Mumbai. So I guess somewhere he felt that I might do the same thing. So, in that role, I kind of thought a lot about him, in the sense that I was trying to play him in a way, from my own personal experiences.
Have there been other roles where you've been able to fall back on life experience, the highs, the lows, and sort of channel that into various characters? Any come to mind?
One role, I had a very interesting experience. I was doing a film in South Africa, in Cape Town, and I was playing a dad to Ashmit Patel. And Ashmit and I were doing a scene in which I get very upset at him and I get very angry, throw things, and walk out. No, he walks out. I sit there in my house and I ask him, "I don't want to talk to you. Leave, go away. I don't want to see you." And I remember when I did the scene, I finished the scene, I could not stop crying. It took me a long time to stop crying. Even after the scene, I went out, I tried to console myself. I could not stop. And that's when I realized that that was the day that I think I understood my father that day. I could not stop. And I realized what he might have gone through. Although he was very angry, he was beating me, he was all that. But I understood what he was trying to do, what was his pain, So it was very strange that after the scene, I suddenly realized something about my dad that I had not thought in so many years. And, I think that might be an extension to Taare Zameen Par in a way, because that film I did was after Taare Zameen Par.
You're acting in a scene, but then it becomes so deeply personal, and then it takes your mind and your heart to different things. Is that one of the charms of acting and being able to do what you do, is being able to get so engrossed in a role that you can somehow bring back life experience? Have you had other such moments while acting?
Well, it's always, that's why probably actors want to act, to experience that emotion, to be able to feel it. And when you don't feel it, it gets frustrating. That's why, take after take, sometimes actors try to feel that moment. And I guess that's the that's the challenge. That's why actors want to act, because they want to experience that emotion. And it's quite challenging in a way that you are not that person, and yet you're supposed to experience that emotion. So that challenge, that duality between you and the person in terms of feeling that emotion is I think it's that's why acting is one of the fine arts. It's one of the fine arts. It's painting, music, dance, acting, sculpting. That's why they're fine arts, because they are really, really, they are fine. They are something that is beyond. There's something about them that is not very normal or ordinary. It's something very, very special. It's almost divine in a way.
While I'm listening to you, I remember I was speaking to Mr. Benjamin Gilani one time, and he said, in his own words, pound for pound, acting is the hardest job there ever is. That's something you can associate with?
I find acting is actually something which is very, very simple. It's not complicated at all. It's we who make it complicated with all our colors and all our thoughts and all our manipulation. We want to we overpower our own performances. We sometimes become enemies for our own characters, because we interfere too much into our own work at times. And that's why you have actors like Irfan who are superb, because if you watch Irfan's performances, you will always see Irfan is not involved in it. Irfan is away. Irfan as a person is away from it, and you see this person. So his personal interference is very little. He's not manipulating anything. And that manipulation is what I think makes it, that's where it becomes very challenging and tough. Because somehow we kind of forget the simplicity of it, and we make it very complicated by overthinking. It's a fight between heart and the mind. Where the mind wins, then the characters that we play become terrible. Where heart wins, the characters become fully alive. I think that's tough. To let your mind away, have your mind not interfere so much. I think that's the challenge.
So many different facets going into one character. Sir, आपको सामने जब कोई script आती है, what do you look for? Is there one specific thing, or you have various ways of looking at a script?
I always look for something that stands out for me. It may be just one moment that I just go, wow, this is a great moment. I remember a film called Gone Harikesh Dastan. There was a scene in which this character that I was asked to play, he steals a pen. He's the secretary of the society. He steals a pen from Konkana and from their house. And in the end, when he realizes that this guy is become a very big shot, or he's a known guy now, and he's done something which the entire country respects, he goes to keep the pen back. Okay. So when I read that, I had said no, because it was not a very big role and I didn't want to do it. But somehow I got attracted to that moment. So yeah, sometimes a small little thing can be very attractive as an actor.
And are there certain kinds of directors you like to work with, a certain style?
No, it's always great to work with. I've done mainstream films also, and I've done very indie kind of films also with Anurag and Sudhir Mishra and the likes. So yeah, it's always a different experience, and it's fun to work with in various genres and various styles with various people, for sure.
Is there any one genre you think you're best suited to, or perhaps one genre where you feel your potential hasn't been tapped in yet?
I'm open. I like experimenting. I like I would like to do all kinds of all kinds of genres, all kind of styles of acting. It's because you never know what's in there. You can only find out once you walk in. So it's good to be open, and I think I try and keep myself open as much as possible.
Do you see any difference when you approach a web series or a film, or for you it's all one medium? It just depends how somebody watches it, how they consume it.
Web definitely is the way to go now, because it's within a very short span of time, a series reaches everywhere in the world. Cinema takes time to travel from one country to another. So definitely the watching experience, it's just web. I find is very, very kind of, you have to binge watch it. Like I've been watching this morning. I was trying to finish this web series called Goliath, and it just, I can't stop, because Bosch. Sorry, I was watching Bosch, and it's just impossible to not watch 2 or 3 at a time together. That's the experience of web. It's very overpowering, because you kind of, and the way they are done, it's like one episode, like on television. There was one episode today, and then you wait for tomorrow, and then you wait for day after. Yeah. So you're not now waiting, you're watching. So every day has become like every hour in a way. And I think that's a very different kind of experience. And it's very, I don't know if I'm right to say that. Hopefully this might bring our attention span back to where it was. That's maybe a wishful thinking, but certainly there is something about web which is very overpowering. If the series is really good, you can't stop watching the entire season actually.
Especially now, because there's so much uncertainty during these dark times which we're living in the lockdown. And I think to a certain extent, people's viewing habits have already changed because of OTT platforms. There must be many big budget and medium budget and small budget films which are ready here, release ke liye, but nobody will take that risk of being the first to say that my film hall mein jayegi. Do you think they'll cut the losses and say, chalo, we'll turn to OTT platforms?
Well, some of them have already started doing that. Some other might wait as long as they can, but economy is such, the finances and all that. I don't know how long they can hold. They might have to succumb to this and release their films on the net. And there have been examples like Irishman and some other films. They've done very well. It really depends. It really depends on them. How, if they are strong enough to sustain their loss, they will. If not, they will have no option. They'll have to release them on the net. Jamie, it's a lovely to meet you and chat with you. We've never met, and I hope we meet. Fantastic meeting you. I met your dad once. We were on a shoot, and so I'm very glad that I met you via this medium. But hopefully, let's definitely meet up when things become a bit normal. And all the best to you too. And thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.